with tasks. So tasks are a pain in the ass for everyone to try to manage, keep a track of things like that. And so going forward, we're going to put everything into a bucket that you can literally see everything that is yours. So going forward, anything that is your contact you're going to change it to you. So starting off, you'll be able to manage your pipeline, see everyone that's assigned to you. So any nurture monthly you get, you guys need to go in here and change the contact from me or someone else to you. So by default, everything is coming into the system as me, which means it's free agent, right? So if you see a contact that's assigned to me, it's a free agent. If you get a nurture and it's your lead, you need to change this to you. Simply click change, type in the first 3 letters, whatever. Yeah, exactly. It'll come back and error on you. Hit that, and it's going to change it to Tanner. So now this is going to be in Tanner's bucket, and you're going to have visibility into it, opposed to have like what was before, where you didn't have visibility into what was your bucket. Does that make sense?
And also, it takes it out of the list of free agents.
Correct.
No longer can anyone else call on your shit, right?
Correct. So any questions on that? Don't worry about that. So next thing is, like we were calling before, you're gonna have, I'll come back to comments, but you have lead level, right? So we have different lead levels. So you have 0 to 30 days, 1 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and then if for some reason you're talking to someone, they become dead, you're gonna mark it as dead. Does that make sense for everyone? So now we can prioritize which leads we're calling based on when they're actually gonna be buying. So based on your current tasks, Jeremiah has already loaded this. Anyone that had a call task was by default set up as 0 to 30 days. That may not be true, so as you guys are going through, you'll need to adjust these. But he's picked, if it was a call task, it was 0 to 30 days. If it was a nurture monthly, it was 1 to 6 months. And so as you're going through, you're going to want to make sure you update these. Any questions there?
So is that going to pretty much eliminate the people that we've been talking to who are saying, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy them, like, end of the summer, and then you got people randomly calling them, like, every week or so or something like that? Because I know with Vital, like, she had a listing that was coming out, this guy was going to work with her, and then he was getting automatically popped up at the dialer, and he got all pissed off.
So the question was, and so honestly, he didn't get called. It was his excuse, right? So I actually called him. I'm like, hey, dude, what the fuck? And so he's like, yeah, I'm going with a buddy that's in the neighborhood. So it was just his excuse.
Okay.
So yes, this will eliminate a lot of it though, because once it's assigned to you, we can pull it from all the other lists. So that will clear up a little bit of it in the sense that if it's assigned to Tanner, at that point we know that it's assigned to Tanner and we pull it from all the other lists. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Your comments. So these, much like you were using the task before when you were calling, your comments are going to be your talking points, right? So you're going to put in here, ready to sell this summer. So that way, as soon as this contact loads, that's what you're going to say to them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to say, hey, Monica, it's Nick. I was just following up to see if you're ready to sell this summer. The next thing is the contact date. So opposed to using a task every time you want to call them, or using 2 buckets, whether it be your daily or monthly, we're getting rid of daily and monthly and just doing daily. And so you're literally going to pick the exact date you want to call this person, and on that date, Monday through Friday, it'll be loaded to dialer. Don't do any weekend dates because we don't do anything on the weekend. But so I'm going to say that I want to call this person on the 10th. Guess what? On the 10th of May, Monica's going to be loaded to my dialer. Yep.
Now, just to make sure, if we don't get a hold of Monica on that day, we need to reload her on another date, correct?
You need to push her out to another date, yes.
Yeah.
And I will give you all access to your reports, because if you do not, she will be called again tomorrow. And so basically, we're going to look at anyone that's a due date of today or the past 60 days to make sure you're pushing everything forward. And so we want to make sure that you're not just leaving someone as due date of 4 or 5, and because you're going to call them every single day. And so every single day we'll give you a report. You just need to go in and edit this next contact date to push it out to when you want to call them again.
Wait. So you just get that there.
Hold on. Okay, so Jeremiah also just said if you, for instance, leave this blank, they'll never get called again. But what's awesome about that in this world is before we didn't know when you had blank tasks, right? We had to go back and true up against the tasks. Now we can pull a report that very easily says, give me all the reports, all the people that are assigned to Tanner, and give me the next call date. And you can very easily see anyone that has a blank next call date. Make sense? What were you going to say?
So basically, if they have a date that's not up to date or a future date, if it's the past date, they get called every day.
Yep.
So they stay on the dialer until you change that date?
Yep.
Are we still going to have a remove from list option, and does that just remove it from the person? Where does it go from there?
Let's come back to that, Don.
Okay.
So those are the big changes. You're still going to use the dialer to log your calls, right? So when this loads, you're still going to log your call, and all your activity history is still going to go down here with all your notes. Does that make sense to everyone? You're no longer in. You're welcome to use tasks, right? So you're welcome to create a task for yourself, but now they're going to be actually just tasks that you're using for yourself. Like for instance, follow up with this person on this date, and it's going to be for your own edification. It's not going to be driving dialer activity. So you're. Right. So on that, the dispositions from the dialer will still drive activity, right? So you need to still make sure they get dispositioned correctly. So if it's a nurture retail, you need to disposition them as a nurture retail, so they get removed from that general list and put on your only list. It will also drive the marketing activity. So if you take them as a nurture retail, you need to do that so that we send them postcards, send them emails, etc. So real quickly on that, all of our activity is done based on a logged call. So even if you call someone manually, you need to log a call that it's a nurture retail or a nurture whatever. Number one, so it shows up in reporting so you guys get credit. And number two, so we can take them out of the list going forward. Does that make sense? So if you dial someone in, let's say you make a manual call, right? You're just going to log a call saying nurture retail. And then that adds it to your numbers and we'll pull it from the general data. Does that make sense? The next thing is Jeremiah will give you all view access to see what campaigns they're on. And so going forward, it's going to be a lot easier to say, this is Nick's contact, pull them from all campaigns that aren't Nick. And so going forward, you'll be able to see what campaigns they're on. And so if they're on multiple campaigns, you can request that we remove them from any other campaigns so that you're the only person calling them. Any questions on that?
What's going to be protocol for doing appointments?
So for right now, we're still going to use the events for appointments. In the future, we're going to add additional fields here. That's like listing appointment date, Weeba House's appointment date, etc. But for right now, you're still going to use the event field for appointments.
Okay, and then still do a ran and one loss.
Oh, one second. Who's talking? Yeah, I know, Maya. We'll adjust that. So yes, you're still going to add that. You're always going to log any activity in the log call.
Okay.
Right. So any activity you have, whether it be an appointment, meeting notes, whatever the case may be, you're going to log the call and add it there. That way you can see the past activity. And then, as you guys probably already realized, next time you call them, you're going to want to update your talk about, right? So, right. So she wasn't ready this summer. So now next time I'm going to call her and ask her about next fall.
And then also on appointments, so who do you want to have the contact record under? The person setting the appointment or the person running the appointment?
So the person that's running the appointment gets the contact assigned. So Chris, when you set an appointment, you're going to change the contact owner to Tanner, and if he kicks it back to you, he will change the contact owner back to you. Does that make sense to me?
Oh, yeah.
So that way you own everything, and then if you kick it back, and so on that, let's just talk real quickly. So contact owner, you see it's someone else's, it's theirs, right? You will all be limited to 100 contacts in your database. So Tanner may tell you you're going to have to sift through 200 something to figure out which ones you want. If there's a lead, for instance, that you want an ISA to call, right? So and again, the ISA will call it when they set the appointment is for you. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Not so much for the We Buy Houses guys. To assign it to an ISA.
When you do a disposition, right? When you do who you're assigning it to when you put appointment?
No. So this is, Maytel and Tanner specifically have like 183 nurtures. I think Tanner has 183. I think you've got somewhere close to that. And so on those, I'm going to, by the end of the next week, expect you guys to tail it down to 100. Right. And so you need to pick which of those 183 you want to call and which of the ones you want to give to Chris to call.
Sure.
And so the way we're going to do that, opposed to assigning him to Chris, is Jeremiah is going to be kind of our ISA bucket going forward.
Okay.
So all we have to do is we want one of the ISAs. So specifically, if you want Chris to call it, you can assign it specifically to Chris.
Okay.
If you just want one of the ISAs to call, which I would prefer, you're going to assign it to Jeremiah, and then when they log in with the next call date, and that goes into the ISA bucket.
Okay.
And we can walk through that again. But again, that way it moves from you, then now Jeremiah owns it, which becomes Chris. And we can monitor the progress there.
So is there a lead follow-up bucket anymore?
Good question. So Jeremiah and I talked about that this morning. Lead follow-up goes away.
Okay.
And the reason being is we're already loading, so for instance, the bold leads or the real geeks, we're already loading them to the bold leads or real geeks list.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
like double adding them.
right. So what we're going to do is going forward, if any bold lead that's still assigned to me after like a week,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to just assign it to the bold lead bucket.
Okay.
And so if you get one of those leads and it is your lead, make sure you claim it to yourself so we don't load it to the bucket. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, Don, your question specifically again was about,
Or removed from list, or when they go to dead, who does that go to?
I don't know.
Okay.
So Jeremiah, the question was if it becomes a dead lead, I think we talked about just assigning it back to me and changing the status to dead. Is that the plan?
That's the problem you're having.
Okay. So what are you saying? So change the lead level to dead and then move it? I think they should just move it right away. No, I don't know that I really care. Okay, so going forward, if the lead becomes dead, so basically what I'm looking at is if it goes from your lead back to a free agent, basically, assign it back to me, clear the due dates, there's no due date, and change the lead level to dead. Does that make sense to everyone?
So we can't see other people's leads, correct?
Technically, you can.
Oh, we can.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to go to is go to reporting, and you can see everyone's leads.
Yeah, I was gonna say type in their name.
Yeah.
My thought was, okay,
Yep, got it. Okay,
if you change it, can you make the other adjustments dead, taking out the date, all that?
If it's somebody else's?
Yeah.
No,
So
you shouldn't be able to.
you
edit
shouldn't
someone
be able to
else's.
edit theirs.
So you have to edit it first and then give it to you?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good point. So as the contact owner, you need to edit it before you assign it to someone else, because once it's assigned to someone else, it probably won't let you edit it. In fact, I think we can restrict that to make sure it won't. So Jeremiah, can you check to make sure that if it's not assigned to the individual, they cannot edit the contact record? I'm pretty sure we can restrict that. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, we'll talk through that. So Jeremiah says just don't touch people's shit. So, well, the reason is otherwise you're not going to be able to take a lead that's assigned to me and assign it to yourself, right? So otherwise that won't work. So just don't touch other people's shit. Good point, Jeremiah. So on this, so if it is dead, you're going to change it back to me. Same thing if it's a maybe seller or anything else, you're going to change it back to me. Maybe sellers, retail asking, all that stuff is driven off of disposition. And so to get it added to the maybe seller bucket, you just need to either disposition it in the call as a maybe seller or maybe we buy houses, or if it's a manual call, you need to log the call as a maybe seller. Does that make sense to everyone? Or a maybe buyer, whatever the case may be?
And you said to make you the contact owner on all?
Correct.
And not
Why you
Jeremiah
and not
for the
Jeremiah,
ISA.
I guess that's right. So we should make, Jeremiah, should we make maybe sellers, maybe buyers, you or me? I guess you, because mine is basically a cold lead and yours are warm leads, right?
yeah, let's
Well, okay. So yeah, make Jeremiah the contact owner. Got it. So he said anything that's a warm lead that we're actively prospecting, whether warm, whatever, is Jeremiah. Anything that's just straight cold free agent goes to me. So going forward, when you log in today, you're no longer going to see the nurture monthly bucket or nurture Nick, nurture Tan or whatever. You're only going to see your daily calls. Your daily. Okay, we'll talk about that later. When you log into your daily skill, it is going to call through, and literally you're going to have a ton of calls in there today because we're front loading a bunch of ones from next week, etc. It's going to call them one at a time, but you will not hear it ringing. So basically what it's going to do is going to call them, it's going to ring for 20 seconds, which we found to be the kind of the optimal time for people to pick up. If they don't pick up, it's just going to drop the call and move on to the next one. So it's much more efficient than calling them one at a time. So on that note, and so going forward, your caller ID outbound will always change when we change our caller ID, which is basically every other week. And so that way, because literally I did an experiment where I changed mine, and all of a sudden I got 20% more pickups because they knew I'd been calling them every single month. And so if there's someone that you want to actually call from your caller ID, give yourself a task and then you can go in and manually call them from your caller ID later. So for instance, if you call them through the dialer and they don't pick up, call them again and you want to leave a voicemail, call them again logging in manually. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay.
It's gonna call the dailies just like our nurtures did, we just hear the beep.
Yep. When it beeps, you say hello.
How, if we haven't talked to them, if they don't pick up, how are we gonna change the date of when we wanna call them again?
So we're going to give you a report. I don't think I have it ready yet. Jeremiah, do you have their reports anywhere?
But that also goes back to the whole idea is that if they load into the dialer on that day and you don't get a hold of them, you keep calling them every day.
Every day is a lot.
No, but that's why you need to change the date. So here,
I
let me,
know, but I'm saying, okay, I called 100 people today. I didn't get a hold of 75% of them. How am I gonna change all those?
you'll need to go in
dates?
and manually change them. So here, let me show you what it looks like real quick. So,
Yeah, that does seem like a lot of work.
but at the same time, it allows you, because the alternative is what we're doing right now, and you have no idea what happens to your leads.
Yeah.
So trust me, this is a much better deal. You're only gonna have 100 that you're ever gonna deal with. And so at the most, if you spread it over a course of a month, you're gonna have maybe 5 to 10 a day you're editing.
Well, yeah, so, but to Maytal's point is that it basically means that, like, let's say you don't get a hold of 75 of them,
You
you
have to
gotta
go in
go
and
into
change
each
the
75 of them and
75
change the
days.
dates.
Yep, absolutely.
But if you're not
Or you
doing
could just call them every day.
75 per day,
Unless there's a way to change 75 at once, like a group change.
There's not.
You can't.
So literally, you're gonna come in here. So these are all Taylor's.
It'd be nice,
One
wouldn't
day?
it? Yeah, it'd be nice. There's not though.
So these are all Taylor's calls today, right? So let's say he calls through all of them, talks to just Melvin. He's gonna have to come in and edit Patricia, Michael, Chris, and Kevin. Open a new window. What? Okay, what report should I be looking at? Okay, so let's look at.
you're an idiot. Stop.
Okay.
Most of it is
Okay, so and then the other thing, you guys. So here's the report that Jeremiah created, right? So now you can also see who's your sellers, who's your buyers. You can look at contact status. You can look at all this stuff. So these are Don's, and so you can see these are all the people that Don's supposed to call yesterday because we loaded this yesterday. So if he does not get a hold of this person today, he's gonna have to go in and edit it and push the date out. So you literally come in here, push the date till you want to call him the next day, whatever you want to do. Save it, and then you're done. So yes, it is more work, but at the same time, you're actually gonna have visibility because I can guarantee if I asked Tanner Maytel to tell me what's going on in your monthly bucket, you're gonna have no freaking idea because you put them in there 6 months ago and you've never looked at their contact again. So this way and it's also gonna force you to be like, I haven't talked to this person in 6 weeks. I'm putting this on Jeremiah now because I'm done with this person. They don't pick up. So yes, it is more work, but it'll create a much better system going forward.
But it just means that you're gonna have to kind of put them all on separate days, so that we
Right.
have less work on changing them every other time.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so when you log in today and you log into your daily, it's going to call your list. And so if you want to see what's on your list today, go to the report section, type lead follow-up, and actually any day, and you can see who's on your call list for the day.
Is that the task that the skill that we have to log into when we log into the dialer?
Okay, so Jeremiah said it won't be completely accurate until Monday because he's kind of front-loading everyone that was for next week. But going forward after Monday, it will be accurate. I mean, so you're gonna have someone there that didn't have due dates. Hold on, dude. I'm just gonna throw in speaker. This is gonna be. Oh, it's really bright. Okay, you're on speaker. What were you gonna say?
So what I'm doing is all their monthlies are already loaded in the monthly campaign. Because I thought we were launching this on Monday, I scheduled them for next Monday. So it's not like it's any more than they already had in their dialers. It's just you won't see them on the reports accurately until Monday.
Okay, so starting Monday, you're gonna start throwing in all their monthlies.
Well, I'm doing their monthlies today.
He already did it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Show up in the report.
Okay.
It's just you won't see it on the report I generate because that's what I'm gonna use going forward.
Got it. Okay.
Well, Jeremiah, is there a way to run the report and set the date for Monday?
Yeah.
What?
Isn't there a way to run the report and set the date for Monday so we can go through it now?
You can modify it, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you do that, you'll see while I'm loading. I'm just saying,
There you
if you just use the general report without any modifications, you're not
Well, I mean, it just means you should go through now, so that way on Monday you're ready. But this would take that.
Okay, any other questions? So the process, again, you get a nurture today.
Do you remember the question I said it.
So you get a nurture today, right? And you're going to create the nurture retail. So you're going to create a nurture retail, a nurture buyer. You're going to change the contact owner to you. You're going to add comments on what you say when you call them next time. You're going to give them a lead level, and you're going to choose when you want to call them again. And then that time it'll add them to your dialer, and you're going to call them again on that date.
Where do we change buyer or seller? It's a little blurry.
Contact record type is right here.
Okay.
And so if you want to change it from buyer to seller, you just click change, and you've got buyer and seller, Denver We Buy Houses seller.
Okay.
So that way you could, again, look at your book of business and say, I've got 60 buyers in my funnel and 40 sellers, or whatever the case may be, so you can look at the different type of people you're working with. Cool? Any questions? So, let me go back to this report real quick. So just to give you guys an idea of why we did this, or one of the reasons, is now I can look at all of the leads that are in Chris's lead, in his bucket. We can basically segment it by all the hot leads that are going in the next 30 days and say, hey, what's going on with these people? You can look at the book of business you're working with, whether it be buyer, seller, We Buy Houses. It gives you a lot more visibility into the people you're actually working with. So upfront, it's going to create a little bit more work, but it actually is going to give you visibility to figure out who you're following up with and what your last. And so, I mean, I can even go like this and go contact. Maybe it's last. So what I'm looking for is, I think I can segment it and look at last activity. So you can look at and say, okay, well, let's see, I haven't talked to this person since 3/16. What's going on with that person? Where everyone else has been talked to in the past, couple weeks, this person hasn't been talked to in over almost a month. So it gives you a lot more visibility to actually manage your pipeline, opposed to just putting in a bucket and hoping the system works.
Awesome.
All right? Cool. Thanks, guys.